city taking some pretty drastic measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Quarantine checkpoints are in effect at major entry points across the city to enforce the 14-day quarantine order. Listen.
They'll be reminded that it is required, not optional. They'll be reminded that failure to quarantine is a violation of state law, and it comes with serious penalties. In fact, under certain circumstances, the fines can be as high as $10,000. So this is serious stuff.
The primary purpose of the quarantine checkpoints are to address a legitimate public safety objective.
All right, so civil rights groups, they're calling this a step in the wrong direction. Let's get this all sorted out. We're joined this morning by Dr. Ted Long, who runs New York City's Test and Trace Court, to explain what these checkpoints will look like and what they say they can and cannot do. So good morning to you, Doctor. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So I guess the first checkpoint, as they're calling it, you just heard the mayor and the sheriff call it a checkpoint. They were in place just hours after the mayor's announcement at the Goethals Bridge. Now, we know it's patrolled by the New York City Sheriff's Office, but what do you know about the outcome of the first round of checkpoints? How many people are you now able to trace?
Yeah, just to walk you through, what we're doing is we're doing random checks every certain number of cars. We're pulling them over and we're seeing if you've been in one of the states where you're at high risk for having contracted the coronavirus there. We're asking for your information through the required state form so that we can reach out to you, keep an eye on you during that period where you could develop the coronavirus, and offer to help you every day in every way that we can, including things like food delivery, help with medications, connecting you directly to a doctor, or even offering a hotel for you.
So the randomness of it all, are you worried at all that while you're only, since it is random, other people might be able to get through that have been traveling somewhere else?
Yeah, the checkpoints are not going to catch every single traveler, the same way that with speeding, we don't catch every person that's speeding. But we want to be able to figure out, generally how, the people that are coming from the affected states, because that also allows us to help them, and it sends the message to others that if they haven't filled out the form, then if they fill out the form as well, we can call them, we can offer to help them, we can deliver food to them. It's our way of really being able to help people.
So your team is conducting a different checkpoint at Penn Station. That's happening this morning. So what can commuters or travelers that are coming from other areas, what can they expect to see and experience if they are passing through Penn Station this morning?
Yeah, great question. So if you're passing through Penn Station this morning, a member of my team may come up to you and ask if you've completed the online form. If you have, at the end of the form, you'll have a screenshot saying you've completed it, and we'll say, have a great day. If you've not completed the online form, we're going to ask you and help you to complete it right then and there. We're even going to have a table with iPads if you can't pull it up on your phone. And again, the reason we're doing that is when you complete the form, that's our mechanism to be able to answer any questions during your quarantine period or offer you any help that you need.
What happens if that person says no and keeps it moving?
My team is going to strongly encourage you that there's benefits of everything we want to offer to you for free, including answering any questions you have about what quarantining is or how it's important or how to get through it.
If they don't, is that when the fine comes into play?
If people do not complete the state required form, the governor's executive order has allowed for a fine to be placed. We hope we don't have to use that, though. We hope we can convince people that we're bringing value in terms of how we can help them, as opposed to leveraging a fine.
So what's the difference then between the checkpoints conducted today by your team over at the train stations than those conducted by the sheriff's deputies over at the bridges and tunnels?
Yeah, I mean, the outcome is twofold, and it's generally the same. One is education. We want people to understand what quarantining is and why it's important. And the second is that we want people to complete the required form so that we can know how to help them. I'm a primary care doctor myself. My patients tell me all the time that I diagnose with coronavirus that it's hard to stay at home for a week on end, that they need help in order to do that. Everything that my patients have told me that they need help with, we've built into what we're offering to people, but we can't offer it to you unless we can reach you. And that's why we're asking for your information at the car checkpoints or at Penn Station.
As you know, there's certainly been a lot of concern already in the past 24 hours over these checkpoints, specifically at the bridges and tunnels. I want you to take a listen to what some of our viewers had to say about it. Take a listen.
Sounds like stop and frisk. It will turn into something else. It always happens. You stop people, and with the police and everything, something is going to happen.
You're never going to know who's truthful or not. You can't interrogate them, So, I don't really think they should do that.
All right, so critics here calling the checkpoints ludicrous, troublesome, invasive. What's your response to that?
You know, anytime that we're pulling somebody over, even going up and talking to somebody, we run the risk that we could be taking them away from their daily activities. But I'm going to give you another example. We've been actually knocking on your door if you've traveled in from other states. We've also placed more than 86,000 phone calls to New Yorkers coming in from other states in order to see how we can help them. Once we've explained what we're doing and what quarantining is and how we can help, we've uniformly gotten a really positive and warm response from New Yorkers. I'll give you an example. The bottom line, a lot of people don't know what quarantining really is or why they should be quarantining. They don't know that the virus can present itself on day 1 or day 12 or day 13 in that 14-day window. So you're not out of that window for 14 days.
Right. So lastly on this topic, Doctor,
we want you to stay at home. When we explain that, we've gotten a really positive response.
On this topic of staying home, so if someone does agree and they fill out the form, they then go home. If they don't stay home for 14 days, how do you know that?
Yeah. Like I said, we've placed more than 86,000 phone calls, sent more than 20,000 text messages, and are knocking on doors as we sit here today. In other words, we're keeping a close eye on you, and we're checking in with you to see how things are going, see how we can help. And if you're developing symptoms, for example, we can connect you to a doctor instantaneously.
Good.
But we can only do that if we have a way to reach you, which comes back to why we're doing any of this. We want to educate you about why this is important for New York and how we can help you.
Understood. I want to ask you one more question here about testing overall. The last time you were here, you said that testing for any New Yorker would be around half of what city MDs or 24-hour urgent care places were offering. So that was around a 3-day period. Since then, people have complained on social media that it's taking a week or longer to get the results. So what do you have to say to that? What is the time period here?
So the median lab turnaround for New York City now is 3 days. But I'm not satisfied with that. I want to drive it down to less than 3 days for sure, and we're working very hard to do that.
The median's
we're making
average.
progress every day, but we need to do more, and we plan to do more.
And so what does that mean for September when schools come about? If it's a median, which is an average of 3 days, what does that mean for teachers who want their results right away, knowing that they're going to school and staying safe?
Yeah, great question. We're going to ensure that teachers get their results back before they go to school. And we were very clear on that commitment that we want to make. It's the right thing to do for teachers, for students, and for New York City. Beyond that, we also want to drive down the lab turnaround times for everybody, and we plan to do that as well.
Hey, Dr. Ted Long, I always appreciate you coming on and answering these questions for us and explaining it all, because I think it's really important to hear the analysis of what exactly all of this means. So I appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much.